There's a couple of families who expressed interest but are getting a little bit.
So I'm very happy to see you give us what we have.
Yeah. So
Hello again.
Hello again. Yeah.
You're all going back.
You want what? Are you up for it?
I believe it. Yes, I am.
All right.
Okay, D, the number one spot.
Yeah.
So D is going to be a copy. And it's a physics problem. You basically just use leverage over your hips. We'll walk you through it.
You went to tech, you could figure out leverage, right? Physics or business? English majors. That's right.
Use somebody else's money. That's leverage. That's leverage. Use somebody else's money.
And mergers or takeovers? Well, that's what the acquisition is. They're all separate. It's not a merger of equals. It's always using their debt, right?
Yeah, we turned to talk to me so you wouldn't have less than.
Very busy. Yeah.
Hour number 2.
After 30 years, I'll say. He's after the first 30 years.
I think we have what we have. I'm just happy we have 10. The fact that we have none at age 12 is secondary.
Yeah.
I'm on it. I gave it to myself. Actually not as rare as you might think, but it is only about half
Please rise to Torah's lifted in
half.
democracy, there's no prayer of democracy, there's no prayer of
Page 223 through 229.
personal prayer, please continue, lead on page 230. Oh, I'm sorry, they're petition. Yep, 223. Good jump us down.
Apathetic for the last time until May.
Rise, your angle, page 230.
Pretty good. Yeah. We are tonight remembering Manuel Borenstein, Barbara Cohen, Ivan Drazen, Leon Fay, Bert Grossman, David Grossman, Joe Resnick, and Bertha Singer. And tonight, Sandra Adair, Rafa Kleber, Eugene Schmuckler, Hyman Weinstein. Keep those names in mind. Yikadal, Yikadash, Merabah, Le'alma, Divrach, Rute, Le'alik, Malchute. Chayefan of Yomechan of Chayed Echol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala Vizman Karim Rameh, Yeshmer Amorah, Le'alom Elohim, Yiparach, Yishtabach, Yipar, Yimam, Yitnaseh, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shmin Kudashach, Le'eva, Mikol Birchatav, Shiratav, Tushbachatav, Nechamatav, Daminam, Be'almam, Rameh. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shmaya L'chaim Alinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Ramein Oseh Shalom Imramav V'Yaseh Shalom Alinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Maru Amen. Page 288, the Song of Ascent. I lift my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? Help comes from Adonai, with your protection. God will not let you stumble, your guardian never slumbers. The guardian does not neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian, your shelter at your side. By day the sun will not harm you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you against all evil and watch over you. Adonai will guard your going out to return home now and forever. Closing, Mourner's Kaddish, page 282. Yikadal, Yikadash, Merabah, Le'alma, Divrach, Rute, Le'alik, Malchute, L'chayefan of Yomechan of Chayed Echol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala Vizman Karim Rameh, Yeshmer Amorah, Le'alom Elohim. Yiparach, Yishtabach, Yipar, V'Ramam, V'Yitnaseh, V'Tadar, V'Taleh, V'Talal, Shmin Kudashach, Le'ela, Mikol Birchatav, Shiratav, Tushbachatav, Nechamatav, Daminam, Be'almam, V'Ramein. Yehi Shlama Rabba, Alenu V'Ramein. Oseh Shalom Imramav, V'Yaseh Shalom. Alenu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Maru. Amen. Thank you, everyone.
If you want to learn, we're learning about Miriam. Oh, about Miriam.
Okay.
Oh, you want some audio? Aaron, okay.
Bye.
Sit back.
Oh, you're good.
Perspective.
I was there yesterday, I wanted to come and
Like I said.
First show? First show. Check out my phone.
Oh, you went today?
Yeah, that's what Mel likes to do. You can't make it all anything. Mel.
I saw on the Scotch, come back to you.
I think
I want to.
other visitors are investing.
I want to.
Hiking.
And I'm like, they don't, you know, when you told me that, I was like,
Shabbat Afternoon in my yard, somewhere in the
but I told her. Okay.
Yes, we're not.
Everybody walking.
Good. Uh-oh.
I can say, if you send me an email, it's not Travis, I can take a picture. But I won't remember.
Well done.
Well, we were under a cover.
Miriam, huh? Hold this.
Well, there are more people than I thought there would be, so only have to deal with them.
Without the heater.
I never know what show it is. Sometimes it's still one.
I understand.
You want people to leave?
There you go, Sam.
I want to go sit in my backyard and.
We need to winnow it down to three.
Should I throw that all over the place?
Just put it back.
like
The garbage is behind you, Les, if you're confused. There you go.
What is so
Trying to put around here.
The dry run was this morning, I don't understand. Right? There was a dry run this morning.
You just did that for a test, didn't you?
Yes. Nothing finished. Yeah. So it's like, what's so confusing? What's so confusing?
Well, it'll definitely.
What else did we cover?
Just
You guys are getting ready.
See, those are my
But the second sort of forks it.
Or raise the price of traffic, so it's Friday and Monday.
Oh.
So that's.
Oh.
Yeah.
You
And
used
I
to
don't know,
travel.
you won't be able on your own. It's gonna be. And you go.
I will.
And
Oh, you will?
3 weeks from now.
Oh,
So,
the joke, actually, the story is the night
and there are.
after Passover.
Twice in one day? You have to do that? Yeah, learning.
Lady calls up, orders a pizza.
I don't know, you should know that I'm
Kid on the
not
other
gonna
line
be
calls
out
her, it's gonna
a
be 2
bit
hours
of my
before it's
usual
delivered.
wattage.
She goes, 2 hours? I never wait 2 hours for a pizza. Kid says,
So.
lady, don't you know? It's the end of the Passover, the whole world is ordered. The whole world is ordered.
But I wanna go in my backyard.
Sorry, it's not a young fellow, need that.
You're a
So I
dog
can't
person.
deliver it.
The
You know,
whole
it's
world
weird, I'm
is
a dog
ordering
person,
pizza.
but I might be a cat.
In the kid's mind, that's what the way
She's
it
a
works.
little bit sad, you know, I
As long as
definitely
you're not catty.
This is.
No, I'm not
It is too.
I
I do remember
I definitely like to like, send me.
sweet tomatoes.
Oh, I love
They
it.
would, they almost seemed like they were shocked. That's what's going on tonight.
Okay,
Oh,
girl,
everybody was
she's
born.
travel, like a hot tub,
I don't know what it is, I love it.
Yeah, I miss it.
it's not
Me?
plastic.
I mean,
It's a solo.
but there were some things that I
Oh,
enjoyed.
wait.
And the Italian
Yeah, it's not like
The brownies that were
Yes.
sugary, but they were nice.
And the celery.
Oh, yeah. And
I like that really nice.
and the soft serve.
It's time to hear
What's the bread?
Oh, I enjoy this one. Every now and again I look at
Like the
ours.
salad?
No, but it's related. On our laptop, I see the shirt sign up for Zoom.
Yeah, that used to be less than
I never, when you signed on, you were a beautiful sunny car. Oh, it was such a joy. And I wanted to wave at you, but ours is on, so I would have to wave at me. Well, there. Yeah.
I was embarrassed because I was in the car.
No one can see me scream at it, and even we.
Home Depot.
So you see a Celsius sign.
Gas there.
Baldwin, Georgia? Baldwin,
See that services there?
yeah. There were 182 cars registered.
Any news besides you and?
There may have been, I saw one name.
Baldwin, Georgia?
One.
Yeah.
The man who shot the shop here used it, you know.
Now, this is it.
Oh, these are.
But
Asian restaurants.
I made a Jeep.
I've seen some.
Not a
They
bad.
ran my-
Just that for you.
I mean, I've always wondered, I've never got
This is your seat.
No, nothing.
The farm high, the great farmers.
I know, we were going, I was so tired.
Maybe not here,
Got it, okay.
but there's a
Every time we're
tail.
we got to stop on the back.
If you eat a poppy seed, they want to get.
See, that's what I like about this, you know. You know,
You're vegetarian.
makes you feel guilty about that.
So you're good.
Oh, by not bringing them out?
Yeah.
Is that actually true?
Well, I like the subway when they got started, what they said was, this is really a means, a method of delivering vegetables.
Yes.
But they approached it that, but the subs were really a way to get quickly chicken. Oh, you consider they got like a dozen different vegetables.
Oh, you get water and
You got that one all over.
Was that one some medical?
All right, I didn't know about the efficacy of this setup, I
They're
didn't,
looking for, what do you?
I'm sorry, I hope you can hear internet people. Who's there? A couple people got to come in here. I'll try to talk loud. Alright, but I didn't hear it send them.
We were not here. We were on Sunday, every day.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. But it's in the back like this, or even in the front?
It's usually the foundation.
Yeah, the front.
Yeah.
And we cannot hear it.
Oh, I got it. Okay. All right. I already said I'm in love today, but we're gonna do this. It's gonna be great. So we're coming up on Passover, and also, and we're coming up on Women's Shabbat, and we're coming up on the Women's Seder all next weekend. And so as we dig up the Shabbat, I decided that I would teach a little bit about Miriam, as she is the Venn diagram intersection of all of these concepts. And because she is a very interesting, very dynamic character who is named more than any other woman and goes through a depth of character change and impact on our tradition and on the community of Israelites that is remarkable for any character, of any gender. And then I saw this book. I think I was researching through some Hebrew Torah of other rabbis, and they cited this book, and it's the kind of book that you actually can't find anywhere except online, and it's like out of print, but it's an anthology of many women writing about Miriam, either in academic essays, or in stories and fiction, or modern midrash, and also poems. So what I brought in today, and I never know which Shabbat is. Sometimes there's no one here, and then sometimes I've only printed 5 of them. But I have it in the book, so we'll just share some now. And I printed out the poem that we'll read. And in life poetry, really like anything I teach, there's no, oh good, every paragraph, perfect, we only needed 5 to do that. Great, good team. Like anything I teach, I'm delighted for disagreement and questions. many of the works of this book are talking about Miriam's character arc, so I'll just give you the sense of the framing of where the anthologizer, put them all together. So there's Miriam the prophet. She is known as being a prophet. She has prophecy. She talks directly. God gives her information. She knows more than the people around her. There is Miriam the musician and the poet. I enjoy some midrash that say that really she wrote the Song of the Sea because she sang it first and then Moses re-sang it. But there certainly are elements of her leading the women in song, in dance, with a timbrel, whatever that might be, that is part of her character. There is Miriam who heard revelation at Sinai. We know that she's there in the desert getting Torah direct from Moses. There is the Miriam who nourishes and sustains the people. Mariam, sometimes we play with her name, might mean bitter seas. She is known for having had the well that sustained the Israelites with water as they moved through the desert. The rabbis pull that out of the sequence of text that after she dies, then they are in trouble finding water. And you know Moses is famous for his big mess up is that he's trying to get water and he's smacking rocks. In contrast, the Miriam was able to bring water with her wherever she went without that violence or confrontation. But then we also get, in contrast to the prophet and the musician and the water bearer and the one who saves her brother, this sort of rescuer and nurturer, there's a sense of Miriam that this book calls Miriam the bitter, or Miriam the rebel. So the other famous anecdote about Miriam is she is frustrated, annoyed, judgy, I don't know what the adjective is, about Moses' conduct with his wife, and speaks ill of him, and then is struck with leprosy. And the rabbis look at this because in theory, Aaron and Miriam are kind of chitty-chatting together about Moses, but only Miriam is struck with leprosy. And so, fascinating story that I won't run you through. Many commentators in this book. Why is that? Why is Miriam the one that's in trouble? And some of them say, oh, it was really hard on Aaron to feel guilty and not have a punishment. And she had a physical punishment that came and went, and so she was able to be fully absolved and move on, as opposed to Aaron, who knew that he was guilty and had to supplicate himself before Moses, but didn't have a quick physical punishment, but a long-lasting spiritual one. Some people say, yeah, so actually this book was like, that's rude, it diminishes Miriam's suffering, but I actually thought that was kind of nice. I think there is a theory in child rearing, or I think it works for working with other humans, where if you make strict rules, people can violate them, get in trouble, and then move on. But the parents have the children internalize the rules and sort of supervise themselves, and then much more erotic children. So it's not, it resonated with me, but you're right, the author of that study in this book said that it was.
Miriam didn't have a nation.
Well, she is the sister of the nation of priests. That's her family. But does Miriam have a lineage? Is actually, that's a debated question. It is not obvious.
Every other thing you said, I knew it.
Yeah, it is not. So this is also a big part of her role, big part of her role model as a woman. When so many of the women in the text, yeah, so many women in the text. In fact, I would say almost all of them, notably Deborah, who's also a prophet, is called Deborah Eshat Lapidot, like the wife of this other guy. So many of the women are known by who they are married to, and no one is mentioned in the Torah as her wife. Her husband or her child. But there are midrash that she did in fact marry Caleb, and her child is Hur. That's a midrash sound. Who? Hur. H-U-R. Hur. She's Ima Hur.
So I'm trying to figure out what you have to do to be a prophet.
I got
There's something in the Torah that says you're a prophet. So how do you know you're a prophet? How do you get a move as a prophet?
All three of them.
Saying he's looking at.
I don't actually have a good citation in here, but I'm pretty sure it's commonly received in here.
I don't think it's anointed in the year of God.
God chooses you.
God chooses you.
Right, but
That's what-
it doesn't say in the Torah that God chooses the woman, God chooses the
What's that job? Well, if he speaks to her, that means she's chosen.
Because God talked to Miriam, and Miriam, so, but actually, I wish I had a citation in B'nai, because that's just something I thought that I knew. I think called Nibiya, but who calls her Nibiya? Oh, I don't know.
But doesn't God talk to Moses about punishment that she
But she's referred to always
Yes.
as Miriam the prophet,
Yes, it's,
like oral history. It counts. It counts.
is it a midrash that she's a prophet? I actually think it's from higher up, but I can't cite it to you at this
I'm
moment.
not challenging.
No, it's a good question that, if I were really prepared, I would be able to cite you the answer. I didn't even think to look it up. I can't pull you the citation of when she talks directly or receives information directly from God as a prophet, but I will look it up later if it's a good question. And yes, she is spoken about when she's struck with leprosy. Moses says, please heal her, and God says, would you really just let someone go off scot-free? We're going to give her a week of leprosy, and that's their agreement.
Aaron, don't worry about it, he'll be okay.
Yeah, they did. And Aaron doesn't get struck with leprosy, he just sees
This
it.
is his son, so eventually, and
Right.
that may be part and parcel.
So maybe, if you're going to take my psychological argument further, you could say, yes, she goes through physical punishment with time, he never gets punished, and then look what happens later. Maybe it would have been better to get a smaller punishment earlier than the death figure gives us. So there is this sense of Miriam the bitter or Miriam the rebel, the one who is struck with leprosy, which is famously a sign of gossip, being someone who speaks ill about others. Oh, and the rabbis say, okay, maybe the punishment was bad later, or maybe she was the one who was really doing it. Aaron was just kind of sweetly listening, because Aaron's kind of a peacemaker, and when he listens to them when they talk about the golden calf, he's not the instigator. She was the instigator, and he was just kind of like, oh, that's nice, sweetie. And so he didn't get punished. The third opinion that a lot of rabbis have, which is more confrontational, is that women only have one source of power, and that is speech. And they speak 9 times more than men, or like 9/10 of the speech are women, and so because women are so powerful in speech, and silence is golden, and women are gossips, she got punished more as a representative for women and their nasty tongues, that they should know better, because women are prone to gossip. Okay, so they're all for one another. There you go, yeah. That's your preferred answer, it's because women are fetchy, and they're gossiping, that's what, be careful where you go with this. Just not quietly when I say things like
My
this.
wife's not.
Yeah, neither confirm nor deny. This is when a no comment will go far.
No.
Alright, so that is the background of the many facets of Miriam's character as presented in this book, and now here we have arrived at the poem. So, I'll read it stanza by stanza, and you can ask questions, you can argue with it, you can express delight or dismay, whatever. Miriam of the Red Sea by Barbara Hawker. Are you satisfied, Mama? Am I free at last of that one neglectful moment your eyes accused me of? All my young years, I dared not ask how long you thought you could hide a baby in a basket in the river. All right. Should we read the whole thing? Maybe read the whole thing. Okay. But you keep thoughts in your mind. Even now, at water's edge, with the sand still wet between my toes, I dread to hear a child cry out. Though it would not matter, Pharaoh's men sleep on the far shore with the sea in their throats. And our lost child has brought us here, my baby brother, this marvelous stranger who makes us one and orders us about. I'd like to ask him where he'd be without his 3 brave mothers, but he's been taunted enough by these stubborn slaves grumbling all the way to salvation. Look at them, sleeping at a time like this. The sounds of these nights and days rage in my ears, the wings of the death angel whistling past, the neighbors wailing for their sons, the stifled cries of our babies held so close, the sound of feet, hundreds of feet, running, shuffling, limping, slapping into the sea, the swish of reeds and the gasp of fish, the shouts and the horses' shrieks, the waters crashing together, and from our shore of the sea, that great Hosanna as of one voice. The Lord lifted me, I felt his hands, and my song poured out, and the timbrel shook in my fingers, and my feet never touched the ground. Questions? Why was the angel of death?
Oh, angel, yeah.
Death, and you got it right there.
Not
Angel of death.
Yeah, angel.
No, angel, the death angel. Good question. Yeah, that would have been a good question. Who's the death angel? Interesting. There's like a scene of evil here, but evil speaking. No, I don't think there is a death angel.
I think we could do a midnight.
Good question. Okay, so who are Moses' without his three brave mothers?
Okay, mother raised him, the one that bore him, and then her.
Yes. So I assume what this means poetically is Yocheved, his birth mother, and then Batya, Pharaoh's daughter, who scoops him out of the ground, and also Miriam, who stewarded him through that process and helped raise him and helped her mother be the winners. But yeah, these three women, two Jews and one Egyptian, who each in turn rescued him and led him and saved him, but don't really occur in his story out of his mouth. Any other questions, comments, things you noticed? Things you liked, things you didn't like?
What's the difference with the Egyptians asleep across the river?
All right.
I guess they couldn't do the baby, right?
In the second stanza,
Yes.
Pharaoh's men sleep.
Right.
So, again, poetry is poetry, but I'm imagining that this song, this poem takes place after they've crossed the sea and the sea has collapsed on Pharaoh's men. So Pharaoh's men sleep on the far shore is sort of a sweet and childlike way of saying that they are dead, because they have the sea in their throats.
So it's a death of the babies as well as maybe the death of the Egyptians.
Well, that's the 10th plague.
Yeah, well, it sounds like she's sort of swirling through different big moments all at once. And what I had understood was she didn't want to hear an Israelite child, away crying out in the water, because when she was a kid, it was so important they not make noise lest they be found and killed. But she doesn't want to hear a child cry out now in this next watery stage of her life. But actually, it wouldn't matter if they cried, because there's no one there to kill them anymore. They called it right.
In the third stanza, it sounds like she's kind of angry, annoyed with her baby brother who orders them around, everybody around. Where would he be without everybody else?
Yeah. I mean, I think in this poem, I chose an 8 because poems are fun, but maybe because I think it does a nice way of making live some of these categories that we went through when we started. That she is both admiring him, both integral to the story, and grumpy. There's a little singe of sass in there, but in a way that I like, because that one sentence there, I love it. Who makes us one and orders us about. You know, here you are, baby brother, you're such a pain. You have united us as a community in God,
Yeah, but
and you're a bossy pants. You know, both and. That's both very high praise and a little bit of zits and zit.
But he had to deal with all the grumpy Israelites in the desert.
Yeah, she forgives him pretty quickly. She said, but he's been taunted up by these stubborn slaves rumbling the way to salvation. Yeah, she seems to have, and this is another reason why we see her as a prophet, she often has this grander view of things, certainly than the other Israelites, who we have sort of low expectation of their big picture understanding of what's going on. But even as a character in the story, she has such an understanding of the whole dynamic. Yes, you're a baby boy. I saved you from a river. You're making the people united with God, but you're also kind of a jerk. But you're put in a hard situation. Like, there's a lot of levels of understanding here in her vision of her brother. What else?
More ambivalent.
Ambivalent emotions, yeah.
But look at in the third stanza at the end. Look at sleeping in a time like this.
Yes.
Harking back to sleeping with his terror and men. Sleeping, because it mentions that, but that doesn't make sense in this point.
I think I read that as such interesting. Is look at them sleeping at a time like this. referring to Pharaoh's men. I'm like, why do you have sleep? I imagine she's looking at the people, Israelites, and they're either physically or spiritually asleep. They crossed the sea and they were like, oh, we're all led to bed.
Well, they did sleep through, right?
Which paragraph are you talking about?
Sorry, I wrote.
The end of the third stanza.
That's Israel.
Yes, we
Right,
think
so
it's
there is the rise of Mary sleeping the night before the giving of the Torah.
Mhm.
But that doesn't seem like it would fit in.
Well,
They do
maybe.
tend to like to sleep, well, because they were slaves, now they're free.
Right. This is the whole point of Passover. This is for fun and be lazy stuff.
What's wrong with the Shabbos?
I personally love a Shabbos
Was
dinner.
it Shabbos?
But if you nap through all of Shabbos services, then
Isn't that what the sermon is?
Someone might take this.
I usually have a napper in my shearing too, just one. So I think it's referring to this. I read it as, and I'm happy for you to read it differently. I like the idea that it might be referencing the later midrash of Israelites asleep for a moment of Torah. Maybe
Yeah.
I read it as they're not even appreciating the miracle of the moment. Since her whole appearance in the part of the Torah right now is to lead them to celebrate and to dance and to sing and be so aware and grateful for the miracle. I read it as a sort of like, look at these stubborn slaves. They're not even here to look at this majesty. They're all
Zipping on this.
they're on their
They're on
phones.
phones, there
Right,
you go.
look at these Israelites. They got their nose in their phones, and we're here in the Grand Canyon, and they're not even looking. And they're just on their WhatsApp. That's what I heard it as.
They're telling everyone what they went
Yeah,
through.
It's different.
Yeah, taking selfies in the Grand Canyon. Yes. That's the
Right,
answer. Yeah.
They forget really fast, they have short memories.
Right.
It's where they come from the nation, you know? They forget really quick what God has done for them, you know?
Yeah. Why do you have us leave Egypt? It was so nice.
They had all this manna. Free food. They taste what every year they try to do.
They complain about the
Or
water.
they
They got
got
bored of it vociferous, and then they want to meet, and then they try to treat. But I like the idea that maybe it's because they've forgotten. Maybe if this poem is happening at night, and everyone should be asleep. But she, it seems like she is ruminating. She's having these big thoughts. You can imagine you've ever been so excited that you can't sleep, or so vibrant with what's happening that you're not going to sleep, and all these other people are just asleep. Do they not know that it's like, New Year's Eve, or it's like it's the evening of my birthday, whatever? We're going on vacation tomorrow. Do they not even know we're about to go to war? They've already moved on. She's still in the vibrant, stimulation of what's just happened, and all the Israelites have forgotten that they went to sleep. That was a great
I was on
miracle.
vacation yesterday, what's the day tomorrow?
That was
Right.
yesterday's news.
Yeah. I don't even remember vacation.
Right.
Grand Canyon, what? I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. Maybe. So it could be that it's even happening. Oh, yeah, other things about the poem that you feel, I don't know what the beginning is about. Maybe you all can venture guesses. Are you satisfied, Mama? Am I free at last of that one neglectful moment your eyes accused me of? All my young years, I dared not ask how long you thought you could hide a baby in a basket. I love the second sentence because it's very snarky. And you never really think about it, that Yocheved just put her baby in a basket. Maybe her, some of the rabbis say that Miriam was 5, maybe she was a teenager, whatever. She was there being like, what are you doing? It's not going to work. And so she follows the baby and makes sure it gets inside.
I mean, he was in the basket for just, I don't know, a short period of time. He was
Yeah.
a baby, well, he was a baby, but they picked him out of there. But then he said, all my young years.
How long did she hide him in the basket and he leads in the water?
Maybe he's in the basket for a long time, or maybe she never quite got over seeing her mother do that and always wanted to ask, but never asked. Like, why do you do that, Mom? That was so silly. But she'd say,
Didn't want to do that.
I didn't consult you with my question, maybe.
How did you have it there? It's almost insinuating.
Which one?
What's insinuating you had being accused of something?
Yeah.
Putting Moses in the basket
No,
for a long
has to
period of
get pregnant.
time.
She could be, has to get pregnant.
Her husband,
Who was that?
um,
The mystery of that.
I'm right.
Or what she being accused of?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe there's a midrash here it's referencing, but it's not clear in the poem. What was
But she
Miriam?
may not be accused of, this may be internal.
Right. She may feel like her mother was never proud of her. Yeah. Oh,
But they do seem to have to go together, the first part of that, the moment, and then it's how long, her mother thought, maybe goodbye. Nothing there, like, wanted to say, or you to say the thing.
right, it's one stanza, so maybe, the only thing I can think of, and it's a poem, so I'm making this up. You gotta share your answer with the class, man.
The baby couldn't have been in that basket too long, because he had to eat, drink, had to have the diaper change, you know.
It sounds like from this paragraph that she's going and feeding him and then leaving him in the basket and hiding him. And then maybe it looks like somebody was neglectful. Somebody did something and turned away.
Right.
One neglectful moment, your eyes accused you. It sounds like maybe Yocheved was hiding Moses in a basket for some length of time. And then maybe one day Miriam untied the rope.
So that was
There's
also,
a neglectful moment, something happened.
that was also my creative read, exactly what Leslie said, to answer Sam's question, how does the beginning and the end of these stanzas fit together? The only thing I can come up with, and we're making this up, the only way that I can square this is to imagine that maybe every day when Pharaoh's guard came to look for baby boys, he'll kind of put Moses in a basket and then went and got back. And she asked Miriam to watch it, and Miriam let him drift down the river, and then he got picked up by Pharaoh's daughter. Maybe that's what's happening.
That's how I was reading it. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's a midrash anywhere, I've never heard of it.
He would have been killed, I thought.
Unless, every day they put him in the river. I don't know. I don't know how we had it in class this morning. Bill said to me, well, how come there weren't fewer men in the Israelite tribe than women if all the baby boys were being killed by Pharaoh? And I said, I don't know.
I don't think they actually killed them. I don't think they killed that many. The midwives were not
The
killing.
midwives were not,
Right.
maybe they were actually killed. I don't know.
Our grandfather.
Yeah.
But that was first. When that thing failed, then they said, cast the board in the sea.
Yes, but were any boys actually cast into the sea? I don't know. And there is a whole midrash that the women then went and gave birth in fields and left their baby boys there, and God raised them until they were able to go get them back. After the decree passed.
Very well be the case.
That may very well be the case.
No, and I say this because a woman wrote to the BJC a number of years ago and asked the question, with so many young men killed in the Civil War, North and South, did that affect population growth in the United States? Yeah, my God, it has. The answer was no, it didn't have an impact on it. And the answer was, and get to this, the answer was, if a woman that wants to get pregnant, she will find a woman. And so in return, to its very point of the women going out to the fields and having
But they don't have more.
The interesting sociological question for me is, because this was the beginning of the Victorian era, when everything was so closed sexually, that here was a generation where, in fact, it was just, apparently that's true.
Well, that's interesting. That means if you're saying if grown men are being killed, that should throw off the partnership statistics. You're saying the women found somewhere to get their partnership to make babies. But this is like if all of the baby males are being killed, then as they grow up, there should be fewer males. But that doesn't seem to be reflected in the story at all in the Torah, that there are fewer males. So maybe those male babies were raised in a field. Maybe the decree lasted, a month in which Moses was born and it was fulfilled. I don't know.
Those 70 souls.
Yeah, maybe they killed a small amount. What is
It affected the population more if there was less women, not less men.
Right, well, in the long term, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, for the next generation, but I'm talking about the generation that experienced it. Okay, anything else in this? So far we've got a Miriam maybe with a sense of a chip on her shoulder with saving of her brother, an interesting relationship with her mother, a sense of really having a big perspective of everything gift of prophecy and song, and also maybe a little bit of resentment. She has seen a lot. The death of Rachel, the death angel, and all of the babies who were being killed, and she really seems to understand the dynamics of an Israelites in a way that may make anyone a cynic. I mean, Moses gets a little cynic too. When you see how difficult people are, or how ungrateful they have their nose in their iPhone, she certainly seems to know too much and leave her to be a little bit of a cynic. Then I love the shift of this visual to something oral, from what she sees to what she hears, the sound of feet. And it, if you think of kids, you always hear them pitter-pattering around. I grew up in a townhouse where the houses all touch. And so we knew which family was living there, how many kids they had, because you could hear but as they were running down the stairs. Very different than the sound of like my dad. I can recognize my parents by the sound of their feet on stairs, just because that's how I heard them growing up. Like a slow sort of thought of my dad, my mom says my brother walks like an elephant on the stairs. I don't think he does. I think he just whoever did it bothered her. But yeah, the sounds of the feet being so indicative of different kinds of generations and people running, shuffling, limping, and slapping into the sea like a little kid's foot running in the shallows. And then the great Hosanna has in one voice. So we've gotten this Miriam in all of her many facets, but then in the very end, we're left with Miriam, the one of song, the one who sings, who leads the this sort of elevated, filled, like I was talking about earlier last night and this morning, about the Ruach Elohim that fills Bezalel, fills these artists who are able to create more than someone might imagine, an ordinary person. They're given this spirit of God to create. Here it literally lifts her up off the ground range. She feels like she's not touching the ground, and is able to sing this praise of God. So having read through the poem, our brief pre-Pesach Miriam study, is there something new about Miriam that you're thinking about? You learned something about was she married or not? Does her character seem different to you?
Yeah, more worldly. If this poet reflects her worldview.
Yes, she seems to be knowledgeable, worldly, to really be in the leadership team. Yeah. No less? Okay.
Yeah, this is what the poet feels. It's not necessarily authentic, except to her.
Right.
So we know a bunch of this stuff happened. Do we know it really happened the way first paragraph, for example? We're reading between lines, you and I, anyway, hearing something that we've never heard before. So this is somebody else's concept of how it may have happened. Doesn't mean it did.
I mean, the only time we really hear of Miriam is at the sea. That's the first time we hear about her is at the sea.
She mentioned as taking the baby boy
Right.
to the.
But I thought it was his mother, Kevin, not.
No, she
I thought it was
watches
Miriam,
over.
and then
Miriam
Yocheved
watches.
goes and raises.
And then Miriam
Then
follows
brings
him,
her.
and then Pharaoh's daughter says, "What is this?" And she looks and she sees Miriam, and she says, "Do you know a Hebrew nursemaid?" And she's like, "Why, yes, I do."
Oh, right,
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 she
yeah,
has
you're
the
right.
mother.
You're right, yeah.
But she's still
She's like lesser than. Yeah, she doesn't seem lesser than. I mean, obviously the poem has poetic license, but one thing that a poem can do now, I won't forgive the religious slander, take it as gospel. You know, this is what's happening with
That's
Miriam.
what I'm
So
saying.
she's not. And one of the powerful things about a poem is to reflect back to us disparate things that we already knew and maybe had flowed together to get a fuller sense of a character, or to reflect your own assumptions or knowledge about Miriam. Make you ask questions or say, well, I always kind of thought she was a nobody, but maybe she's not. Or think, I thought she was just a sister, or but look at all these other ways she appears and how we try to put them together. So as we make our way into Passover, I hope the poem gives you some way of seeing her maybe in a little more fullness and depth of character, with a strong sense of empathizable, relatable humanity. She is someone who is both powerful and very personal, a very human character who succumbs maybe to cynicism and a little bit of snark and some judgment and some difficult relationships, but is also able to really step back and see the whole Jewish people, see their trajectory, and show up to nourish them and care for them and save them occasionally. In this book, I saw one fun fact to leave you with. There apparently was some tradition of detail, which is like, 2,000 years ago, that I think it's Iraq, you could put a cooked fish on the Seder plate for beer. So with all of the apocryphal Seder plate stories, you'll end up with 3 Seder plates. But if you feel like
Beer, a water cup's not better.
Yeah,
A water Miriam's cup, I've
Yes.
never heard of a fish.
a cooked fish.
With the orange, yes, the orange.
Orange is also it's a ribbon. I don't even know what it's
All right, what about
I never heard the orange thing.
Oh, putting it on. So it's
I
I'm
don't
not
know
sure.
that women's Seder, so what do I
Well,
know?
so the women on a Seder, the orange thing, some people do as a thing to represent the women at the Seder table, or who have been integral to the Jewish people, or Miriam, and then someone said, oh, actually, that's not a real tradition. People thought it was tradition because someone was joking, because they said that women belong on the bima like an orange belongs on a Seder plate, and so then people started putting oranges on Seder plates. It's not really I don't care what you put on your plate. And definitely-
Traditional chauvinistic.
That's maybe not really, they,
Yeah.
If I can just share the concluding statement from that AJC article about the women and how the population didn't change. The concluding statement, and this was over 10 years ago that this was published. The concluding statement was, wars, internal uprisings, and strikes do not have an impact on overall population growth. The only thing that does is pandemics. They said the only thing that really affects us. And this was, COVID had a vaccine halfway through it.
You mean the Black Death?
I think it does.
And other pandemics.
The 1918.
And other.
How many millions?
Yes.
People?
Yeah.
Millions. I mean, many more who died in the war.
And this is what they're saying. They're saying
Yeah, keep it.
all the other ones don't have a long-term impact. The one that does.
Thank you for
Were
coming.
they there?
Yeah, with Chavez. Sorry.
Joe, they didn't get.
Since your ass. Well,
Environmental science.